Okay, today I'm going to attempt to set up a frame relay network consisting of two routers connected to two clouds connected to, in actuality I'm going to have the clouds connect to two workstations that are set up in virtual server. That's actually VMware servers product. To give you an idea what I'm talking about, virtual server, I have a workstation 20 and a workstation 30 set up. These workstations, I have pings going right now. Let me slide up the screen here a little bit. You can see from an IP config, this particular machine is the 192.168.20.110. I'm having it ping 30.100. Made a typo there. Let me fix that real quick. And we're going to ping 3110 minus T so that it's a continuous ping, and it's going to be looking into the subnet that we're going to create and set up through the Dynamips program. So make sure I didn't do the same thing up here, and I did. This is a 3110 machine that I'm attempting to ping from the workstation 20, and I need to make sure I'm using the right address. 110 minus T. Okay, so now I have pings going continuously between the two workstations. At this point they're not connected, they won't see each other. By the time I get done with the GNS setup with my frame relay setting, I should have both those machines talking to each other through the frame relay network. Okay, in order to set up the frame relay, I basically need to create I need two routers, I need a frame relay switch, and of course I need my clouds. Clouds are used to create two external machines. Okay, so my frame relay, let's turn on the name so we see what we have. I'm going to give these particular switches and routers names. So the frame relay, I'm just going to call it frame relay. And the switches or the routers, I'm going to call one Springfield and the other St. Joseph. Okay, you notice I managed to change the frame relay to Springfield. Okay, that's one of the things you have to watch out for this. You can have multiple routers selected or devices selected, and doesn't know the difference. So let's say I got St. Joseph, so this is Springfield. Okay, my clouds, I'm going to give them the names of the network that they're going to be connected to. 192.168.20.0. If you recall, I've got a 20.110 workstation number, an IP address, and the other is a 30.110, so this will be 192.168.30.0. So that's the network there. Nothing too exciting at this point. Frame relay, need to configure it. No, look, I get two things selected here. Okay, I'm going to go into the frame relay switch. I need to set up the ports. I'm going to use port 1 and port 2. They're easy to remember, and my del size basically uses the 102 and the 201. These del size numbers can be anything you want. I just find it easy to use the to and from destinations in my naming convention, and that way I'm able to remember easily without having to write it all down where I'm going. So I hit the add button, apply it. I now have two ports on my frame relay. My routers, I need to configure them. I need to pick up which operating system I'm going to use, what frame, etc. In this case, I'm going to use a 2691 series router. I already have uncompressed this image because, as you recall, the 2600 series routers do require the image to be uncompressed to work in Dynamips. Okay. I'm going to just take the default memory settings, but I do need a serial port card, so I'm going to add a card to slot 1 that has serial ports. and I'm just going to take the defaults over here in the advanced. Apply that, save it. Come over to Springfield, do the same thing. Basically make sure I've got the 2691 series selected, my defaults. I'm going to again pick my serial card and go from here. Just so you're aware, the 2691 only has one slot, and the program is able to recognize that and only gives you the one option. So in this case I've got fast Ethernet and some serial ports. So I've got top three configured. Now I need to configure my clouds. This is a little more difficult. This is a little tricky. Okay, what it does, that little black box that popped up, is basically configuring, pulling up and populating this pull down of all the NICs I have on this box. Most of these are virtual NICs, but these are NICs, but nevertheless. The number means nothing to me or you or anybody else at this point. So in order to use this, I need to get those numbers. We get a nice command file when we install Dynamips with the GNS product that if I can get it to run, we'll come up and pull up the list of the network devices. But as I see, my processor is getting cranked on right now. There we go. It just didn't want to be. Okay. So this is the 20 node here, if you will, and I know from the way I configured it, these VNets are my virtual machines. VNet 3 is actually the 30 network, and VNet 2 is my 192.168.20 network. So basically look at the last four digits, 8659, come up here and find 8659, add it, apply it, hit OK. And while I'm in here, I'll take a look at my 3 network, and that's 51 Foxtrot Bravo. So I need to go into my cloud here and do the same thing. I need to configure Foxtrot Bravo, 51 Foxtrot Bravo, add that in and apply it, and I now have my clouds configured. I no longer need this, and since memory is a problem, I'll go ahead and close it down. Okay, I now need to make my connections between my different devices. So I go up here to my connection. Let's see, I need some serial ports, so I'll go from St. Joe to frame relay, and from Springfield to the frame relay. Okay, I also need some fast Ethernet, so I'll go from St. Joe to my cloud, and I'll go from Springfield to my cloud. I now have my network ready to go. In order to launch this application, I basically just click on the emulate mode, and if everything works right, yeah, I come up, and as you can see, it worked. I'm now in the emulation mode, ready to start. As it comes up, the frame relay switch and the clouds are always on, so they come up with the little green lights on. The 2 routers, however, are not. And in order to start these, I can either hit the start button up here at the top, which turns them both on, or I can just right click and start them individually. For the sake of argument, I'm going to start them both up, get them going, and let it go from there. Okay. The console box, Telnet to all iOS, will open up a window to both of these at the same time. That can be confusing when you're in the configuration mode. I prefer to right click and open an individual console. Okay, as we can see, St. Joseph is the console that's opening. I'm going to position this so we can keep an eye on stuff. And I hit enter, okay, and it's already booted up, because again it's an uncompressed image, so it doesn't have to decompress it. And no, I don't need help setting this up. So I'll twiddle my thumbs and wait for this to initialize all the ports at this point, and shortly we see the logging to the console occur, and that fills us up. This is to me a nuisance. It confuses me when I'm typing, so one of the first things I like to do is turn that off. Okay, before I do that, however, I need to go into privilege mode, which is by typing enable. I then need to get into configuration, and it's config T. Okay, first thing I want to do is give myself a host name, and in this case it's St. Joseph, so that I can keep track of where I'm at. Okay, so I'm on the St. Joseph router. I want to turn off logging to the console, and I want to also turn off domain lookup. It just gets to be a problem too if I make a typo. Okay, so now I've got this switch. I'm ready to begin. First thing I like to do is I'm going to turn on the fast Ethernet port to the cloud. So let's see, I need to go into the interface mode for that particular port. Which port is it? Well, I can look up here and I can see that it's fast Ethernet 00 is connected to my cloud. So that's what I need to type in here, fast Ethernet 0/0. Okay, need to give it an IP address, and the IP address needs to be on the subnet that the cloud is connected to, correct? So I'll give it that, and I'll give it an network mask, subnet mask. So there, I've done that, and I like to use descriptions. This is a connection to network 192.168.20.0. Okay, simple. I'm now going to do a no shutdown to turn this port on. Okay, I now need to also configure the serial port. I'm going to use sub interfaces because I might want to hook up another router to this particular frame relay switch later, and this will help me at that point. So first thing I want to do is I want to go to my actual interface, which is serial 1/0. How do I know that? Well, I look up here again and I see serial 1/0. So I'm going into that interface. I'm going to do an encapsulation, and the encapsulation is going to be frame relay, and I'm just using the tab key so you can see the full command here. That's all there is to that. I need to do a no shutdown to turn on this particular interface. I now need to create my sub interface. My sub interface is going to be off that same physical interface port, serial S1/0, and I'm going to use the delci number to help me. And again, the delci, it's going from port 1 to port 2. How do I know that? Well, I'm looking up here and I see that my serial is hooked to frame relay 1, and I happen to know the Springfield is hooked to frame relay 2. So, okay, the piece that I always would forget was to tell it that it's a point-to-point. So now I've got that set up. Okay, so I've got my sub interface. I need to assign an IP address, and the IP address I want to use in this case is 192.168.1.1. And why am I using 1.1? Yeah, I could use anything, but 20 and 30s are taken. 1.1, it's port 1. Made sense to me. Okay, so I have that. Now, I also need to tell it that it's a frame relay, so, and give it the delci number. So frame relay interface delci 102. Simple as that. I always do a no shut. I don't think you actually have to, but I like to do that. Now I need to get back to the config mode, and I need to set up my routing protocol. So router, I'm going to use EIGRP, and I'm going to assign it 100. Okay, now I need to tell what networks it's routing, and it's 192.168.1.0, correct? As well as network 192.168.1.1. 168.20.0. So those are the networks that are being advertised by this router. Okay, I need to exit out of this, and now I need to exit out of this, and I need to save my startup. Now they tell you not to do it this way, but if you type WRI, that will do the same as a copy run to start. They do the same thing. Depends on which one you learned first. So St. Joe now is configured. I should be able to ping 192.168.20.1, and I had a success rate there. Not sure if 3.1 will work or 1.1 will work yet without the other end of that connection. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to open up the console to Springfield. What are we going to see here? Well, oops. Apparently I had multiple ones connected here. I just want to open up to Springfield, and it just says Springfield. Same thing. I want to position this so that I can see where I'm going with everything. Okay. And no, I don't need help again. Now I got to wait for the console logging to occur. Okay, and the console login fills me up, and I get out of that. So I go into privilege mode, and then I go into configuration. Okay, what I want to do, I want to give it a host name, and this one happens to be Springfield. And let's see, what do I want to do? No logging, correct. And no IP domain lookup. Okay, so now I'm going to the, this is Springfield, same thing. You notice it's fast Ethernet 00 and serial 10, so it's pretty much identical to what we just did. So let's see, I want to go to interface fast 00, give it an IP address 192.168.30, in this case, .1, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Okay, and a description, connection to network 192.168.30.0, and no shut. Okay, now I want to go into my serial port, serial 1/0, and what do I want to do there? I want to do the encapsulation. That's correct. Encapsulation what? Frame relay. Okay, so I've got my encapsulation done. And what do I want to do with this? I want to do a no shutdown. Okay, so I've got my encapsulation up, I got my no shutdown. I want to create my sub interface. Interface S1/0 dot. This one's going from port 2 to port 1, so it's 201. And it's a point-to-point. Having done this, I now need to give it an IP address. 92.168.1.2, because 1.1 is already in use. 255.255.255.0. Correct? Okay, I need to tell it it's a frame relay. Oops. Frame relay, and I need to tell it the del side number. In this case, it's 201. Okay, no shut. And I now need to exit out of that, back to config mode. I need to tell it the router is ZIGRP 100, and the 100 could be whatever you wanted. I just picked 100, it's easy to remember. And I need to tell it what networks to be using. And again, it's 192.168.1.1.0. And I know you guys were just dying wondering when I would use the back key and the up key and do that. Okay, network 130. So now I exit out of this, and I exit out of config, and in theory I should now be able to ping my two workstations. Ping 192.168.20.1110. Let's see if I get lucky. Oh, look at that. It already found it. Let's see if 30.1110's here. And there you go. I've just pinged from Springfield through the cloud to the workstation that's connected here. The workstation that's connected to this one, I also went there. And that's essentially how you do a frame relay network. We can quickly go into our setup, and sure enough, we are getting some pings. And we see some delays. This performance issue, this hit we're seeing, is really due to my workstation is it really cranking at this point, trying to handle all the stuff I'm got going, as well as my media encoder that I'm using. So at this point, I'm calling it quits, and that's how you create a frame relay network. One last thing, now that I'm in emulation, I can actually save this setting configuration. I have a labs folder. Okay, come on. This does not want to respond to my mouse. Okay, and I'm just going to it's not happening, so I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to turn off my encoder and we'll call it good.